Hello, good evening. We're very happy to have you with us. And we have to say that we are also very excited. I'm Amit, and this is Moshe. I'm Moshe, hi. Honestly, this is the first course that opens in the entire Europe. We have more than 7,000, soon more than 8,000 viewers, 22 countries. This is a very special course that will give us the foundations of Kabbalah. Before we'll tell you about this course, we're very proud to introduce Tal, who is with us. Hello, Tal. Hello, everyone. Tal is going to be with us on the internet. Give us your questions. We'll discuss technical issues soon, meaning this whole lesson we will tell you in a second what this course is, what the Wisdom Kabbalah is, but it is important for us to say up front, send us your questions about any topic you want about the Wisdom of Kabbalah, everything you want to know, and we guarantee to give you answers during the lesson. So let's get started. Yeah, let's get started, although I have to tell you that although I didn't plan to say anything about that, but I have to unload myself a little bit, unload the excitement. Why are we so excited, actually? We started studying the Wisdom Kabbalah together many years ago, about 8-9 years ago. And if I can try and put it into words, what the Wisdom Kabbalah did to me in my life and to Moshe and Tal and of all the many people who are here in the studio and are now serving this broadcast, filming, monitoring. 22 languages are being translated right now to all of you, to all the new friends in Europe. So I think that really this wisdom changes our life so essentially that you can't say that the wisdom before the Wisdom Kabbalah even resemble slightly our life after we came to know this wisdom. It is such a powerful wisdom. It changes, it opens up, it intensifies our lives and gives us so much hope in all life area, in family, with our kids, in our whole perception of reality. What are we doing here? Why are we here for? How can we govern this life? Do we or don't we have a destiny? Can we control our destiny or can't we? All those things, questions that always echoed in my mind since I was a child. Now, they were answered in this wisdom, in this path, after so many years of searching in other methods, and we will explain the difference between the Kabbalah and other wisdoms. And I think this is the source for this great excitement, because we know that you too are standing on the door gate to this wisdom of Kabbalah. And we really hope that you will continue these 10 lessons with us during the lesson in the Facebook group that will accompany in between the lessons. We'll keep on working there, asking questions, scrutinize things, and we're expecting 10 weeks, very meaningful 10 weeks. I remember when I came to Wisdom Kabbalah with different questions. A few years ago, I remember I was writing in Amazon what Kabbalah is, a book site, and I had 6,700 results. And 2 days before the course, we did it again, and this time we had 11,000. Meaning every one of you came with an idea, with a thought what Kabbalah is. Is it mysticism? Perhaps this is something related to Judaism only, or to special forces perhaps, or to special abilities, energies, witchcraft. There are many questions. And every place, everything has its right place. But this course is meant to give you the understanding, the precise understanding of what the wisdom of Kabbalah is, how it is related to our life, what it's talking about. We will study the original Kabbalah during those 10 lessons. We will open up topics. I remember when I studied them, they electrified me. I was thinking for days that it is here, it is between us, it is very realistic, very scientific, but I think that we will ask you a few questions. We won't tell you everything up front. So, see, there's a lot of fogginess and uncertainty around the wisdom Kabbalah for the last 2,000 years. Many myths, many thoughts were created around Kabbalah, and there are many questions about it. First of all, what Kabbalah is? What is the spirituality Kabbalah is talking about? There's a question if Kabbalah is related to my life, or is it something nice like New Ages? It's not only New Age, there's also a trivial question whether the wisdom of Kabbalah is related to Judaism, only to Judaism. Should I be Jewish in order to study it? How is it connected? Is it connected? Who is a Kabbalist? What does he do, a Kabbalist? What is his role, his duty in this world? How can one be a Kabbalist? Can everyone be a Kabbalist? And the most important thing is why Kabbalah is revealed precisely in our times. It was always concealed. There were so many prohibitions around it. I remember I was afraid to open up the book of Zohar, and why today it is revealed to everyone, including everyone, and Kabbalists themselves say it's a must. So we will clarify all those things and discover them between us. But in order to be orientated in all those so many views and opinions of what Kabbalah is, we should hear what a true Kabbalist says. His name is Rav Yehuda Halebi Ashlag. He's known as Baal HaSulam. Why is he called Baal HaSulam? Baal HaSulam was the greatest Kabbalist of the 20th century. His uniqueness is in the fact that he took the entire wisdom of Kabbalah, which is very ancient, almost 6,000 years old. We will explain where it comes from, and he adapted it, and he presents it to us, to our generation, in a simple way. The gate, the opening for the wisdom of Kabbalah was locked. If it weren't for Baal HaSulam, who did his entire enterprise, especially the commentary of the Zohar, which is called the commentary of the Sulam, the letter, this is why it's called Baal HaSulam. And he gives a very precise, very clear definition in the article, the essence of the wisdom Kabbalah, to what the wisdom Kabbalah is. And before we will read the definition, we have a clip for you, so let's watch it. Okay, so what is the wisdom of Kabbalah? Baal HaSulam writes in his article, The Essence of the Wisdom of Kabbalah, he writes this. This wisdom is no more and no less than a sequence of roots which hang down by way of cause and consequence, by fixed, determined rules, interweaving to a single exalted goal described as the revelation of his godliness to his creatures in this world. This is what he wrote. That definition is not simple, and we want to explain it. First of all, we have to understand what a definition in the wisdom of Kabbalah is. Soon we will talk about what it means to attain, to feel, to understand. But when a Kabbalist writes a definition about the wisdom of Kabbalah, that means that that definition includes the entire wisdom, and it defines our entire existence and the whole wisdom. So let's see what he says. This wisdom is no more and no less, meaning no more and no less than what he's about to tell us, which is the sequence of roots. Roots, it's like forces or causes or places to what will come next, meaning us, which hang down by way of cause and consequence, a cause and result, by fixed determined rules like gravity and other rules, meaning rules, unchangeable rules. And there are many questions here about the freedom of choice. We will discuss it later on. Interweaving those laws, those rules to a single exalted goal, meaning all the roots, all the rules in the reality that Bala Sulam describes, which is our reality, and another reality that perhaps we do not feel yet. They're all connected, interweaved into a single exalted goal, the most exalted goal. And what is that goal? This is probably the goal of the entire creation, which is the revelation of His godliness to His creatures in this world. So I don't know what it means yet. Perhaps you can help us. I don't know what a creature is in this world, which is basically the most important thing there is. We think that perhaps to attain the upper reality, we always thought perhaps something happens after death, or maybe not. And here Bala Sulam says plain and clear, it's not that we rot in the ground and all of a sudden there is some plastic bag comes out of our body, flies to the heavens, and then an angel opens a little window and says, "Hey, Moshe, let's see what you did. Okay, you deserve the upper world, or you should be roasted in hell." No, he says that this entire wisdom of the entire wisdom of Kabbalah, the entire spirituality, everything happens and should happen in this world, meaning in our reality, here and now. What is Creator? Boré, Creator, is a very special definition which we will explain gradually. And with permission, you mentioned drawing like this beautiful story with the window, so let's do it this way. We can understand from this definition, we can explain this definition during the whole lesson. It is so perfect, so precise, it includes everything. From here we can understand the real approach of authentic Kabbalists, which is very scientific, meaning this is not an approach of faith, meaning that I have to believe to something or someone. Rather, he says there is a method here. And through this method, we can explain to everyone how to come to reveal the Creator in this world, here and now, in this life. What is the revelation of the Creator? First of all, revelation, we know what it means, meaning every one of us revealed something in his life. And revelation, meaning is finding of something that was probably there, but I didn't notice before. So from here we can assume that the Creator probably is something that is here, but I lack a sense in order to discover Him, to see Him. And the wisdom of Kabbalah teaches me how to open up this additional sense, this special sense, which is called a soul. And with the help of that new sense which we develop during the study, as we go, with it we discover the Creator. So what is the Creator then? Is the Creator some kind of an old grandpa sitting on some clan and writing notebooks? I don't know. We already have my little angel with the window, so... No, we are talking about rules. Determined absolute rules, as he writes here in his definition. And the Creator is comprised from two words, bo ur-e, come and see. Now, this move of to come and see means that I first have to discover who the Creator is. I can define who the Creator is according to Kabbalists, but it won't help me until I will feel Him, attain Him, taste Him myself. Meaning I have to feel who the Creator is, and then I will know who the Creator is. The Creator in the wisdom of Kabbalah actually is the conclusive rule, the one rule, the exalted rule of nature that comprises, sustains, governs the entire reality as we know it, and also a much higher spiritual reality from which all the forces of the Creator, this general force, cascade, come down and motivate everything we see in this world, all the phenomena, the results. And from below, we want to understand how to open up this door in order to penetrate matter, to penetrate the reality we live in, and to discover a new, higher, sublime reality. And this is why we want to have contact with that force. Many times a person is awakened and asks himself, where do I get such a thought? Where do I get such thoughts from? the desire that I have, all of a sudden I want something, and then something next, there's another thing, and all of a sudden I don't want anything at all. So we have thoughts, desires, qualities. Where do they all come from? And a person, the moment he starts looking and searching, then he has an opportunity to find the wisdom of Kabbalah, which allows him to be in touch with that upper force. What does it mean to be in touch, to reveal? To reveal means that it's not that I just find something, all of a sudden I discovered or revealed something. To reveal means that I become similar to that phenomena. Meaning, when a Kabbalist discovers something, or the purpose of reality is that we will discover the true forces. If only we will know how to know them, to use them correctly through the wisdom of Kabbalah, we will acquire qualities higher than ourselves, like in a receiver, radio receiver. We will start feeling the same forces, roots that come from this higher source, inner source, which governs us, and perhaps we will start being above this reality where we're being managed, and we will start understanding those forces, control them, and to reach the same exalted goal. As you have said, we can talk about it endlessly, because that definition encompasses the entire wisdom and our whole existence and reality. So we can see here in the drawing, we have the upper world, the upper reality, and from there the forces cascade to us, which activate all the phenomena that we see in our world. This is what Baal HaSulam says in this definition. It's like with a computer screen. You probably have one at your home, maybe. But so we have a computer screen, we see all that we see through the pixels, and then we have the software that operates what we see. But if I want to change something in the screen, if I want to change something in my life, we can do it. And after a certain age, we understand that we don't have many opportunities to change things. Amit did a very beautiful drawing. You see a man and a tree. Is that a tree? Yes. And what is it? It's a mountain and a mouse. And everyone are managed by these forces. And Kabbalah actually is a method that gives each and every one of us the ability to feel, to understand, and to discover a higher reality, to be there. And Kabbalists, they felt that reality so strongly, they adapted themselves to it until they felt it much more stronger than this life, this world. And they wrote about it, that this world is like a shadow, it's like an imaginary world, and they were able to rise to the level of the roots, and they called it, I have seen an upside-down world to such extent. That's true. Now, also according to the diagram, we can resemble it where in the 80s, I remember when I helped my mom, there was a trend to weave some wall pictures, weaving. Yeah, I did it myself. I did a cat and a plant. Yeah, I did it too. Not a cat, but, well, you know it, I guess. Kind of paintings from weaving. Now, the interesting thing about it is that we look at them. On the one side, we see the result, the external picture on the surface. But if we turn it around, we see all the knots, everything that created that painting. And here is the most deepest wish of people from the beginning of history, to feel, to understand, to discover if there's a creator, if there's a maker to this reality of me and my life. Who is it? And how can I be in touch with him, as you said? And the wisdom of Kabbalah allows people to enter and see the connections the hidden connections for the time being from our eye, and to understand how this whole reality operates, how it's been managed by which forces. How do I, a simple man, and you, also, every one of you, can be part of activating that system, can be a part of the most hidden but most powerful forces, the spiritual forces which governs and manage our whole existence. And we have to understand one more thing before we can see what happens in our world, in our life. How do we operate? How these forces affect us? We need to understand first that this definition and the wisdom of Kabbalah in general is something scientific. It's not that I believe, I close my eyes and think about some secret forces. No, the wisdom of Kabbalah is a science which relies on intellect and a new sense which we develop. And every definition written by Kabbalists in their books, the books of the Ari and other books we will talk about, they left it for other Kabbalists with the name, with lists, that those Kabbalists, when they come to the same degrees, they can test those things on themselves, like in science. And you will see, and we will well know Baal HaSulam. He had a very, very scientific approach, and he wrote his articles in a scientific, popular way, especially for us. So we have to understand that we're not talking about mysticism, shutting our eyes. We're not talking about belief or faith. This is a science which any one of us can try and feel in this life, in this world. Baal HaSulam himself writes that the wisdom of Kabbalah is the mother of all sciences. He writes about it in one of his articles. We'll talk a lot about this scientific approach and how much the wisdom of Kabbalah is the most exalted science. And before we continue onward, it is important for me to mention something about the manner of the study, how we're going to study, and you are going to experience this study in these 10 meetings and more. So basically, we're giving you information now. We will read text, we will draw some diagrams, we will talk, and you will get information. And that information is the first layer that will give you the first introduction between you and the wisdom of Kabbalah. And perhaps that knowledge will confuse you a lot at first, and it will be very different from what you know, thought, but it will be very precise, very correct. The moment you will take that knowledge and work with it somehow, internally, you will think about it, you will delve into it, you will ask yourselves questions during the week, you just leave, go here, go there, live your life. And then you will start making connections between that knowledge to what happens in your life. You will turn this knowledge into understanding. After knowledge, we have understanding. It's a higher level. We connect the knowledge that we have to our life. And the next stage, which we wish for, and this is the stage which Kabbalists direct us to, is not to settle in knowledge or understanding, rather attainment, meaning that we want in our sense, like we see, taste and feel everything, really in such a sense to open inside of us an additional, different sense, a spiritual sense. Now we just have a small seed of that sense, and during this study, we want to give that seed water. We will talk about it as we go, and to reach a state that this sense will be the sense that we will live in. We attain the wisdom because we live in it, inside the world the wisdom of Kabbalah is talking about. This is the purpose of the wisdom of Kabbalah. It settles for no less. It wants to take people and allow them to feel, know, and mainly to attain that reality, which is called the Creator, a spiritual existence. Natalie has a question, but before she asks her question, something else which we will have during the course, you should understand that the wisdom of Kabbalah was written and was meant for us, so that we, with the wisdom of Kabbalah, by reading, we will start increasing in us that sense, that special desire for an exalted reality higher than us. Therefore, we have a warm recommendation for you to start getting into our site and to read as much as you can from authentical Kabbalah books. I remember when I started, it should be like a food processor. I started reading, and you will see, as Amit said, how all of a sudden you start making the connections between the wisdom of Kabbalah to your life, how Kabbalists are talking about it, and then you will see that in your sense, you will see how everything changes. Now, Tal, we spoke enough. It's your turn. No, you spoke very nice, and I think it made the audience very curious. There's a guy by the name of Raphael from Belgium. He's asking us, we're talking about the Creator, and he says, I understand from the lesson that the Creator is a law of nature in this world and higher worlds. Shouldn't the Creator be defined as something infinite beyond our attainment, beyond our intellect? Don't we make him too small by saying that? So is he something great, unattainable, or what? It's a very good question, because we're talking here about our ability to perceive something. And the Creator is something that Kabbalists revealed by rising to the roots through spiritual degrees. Is there a Creator outside of what I can discover and feel? I don't know. This is why the wisdom of Kabbalah is a science. What Kabbalists say that is called the quality of giving and bestowal, the quality of love, which they have discovered in their senses, which grew in quantity and quality. They have discovered that force that governs the entire reality and all the creatures, and he has a goal. And they didn't just discover him by looking from the side. Rather, they themselves have acquired his qualities and became to be like him. And from there, they are talking about the qualities of the Creator, and not as someone who looks at him from the side and says, you're great, merciful, and so on. Rather, they themselves became the Creator, like the Creator. And that is the purpose that Bala Sulam spoke in the definition of the wisdom of Kabbalah. Therefore, Kabbalah say, from your action, we know you. Meaning we know you from your action, the actions that we do, or we feel that you do upon us. And there's a verse said by Kabbalists, if I would have known him, then I would have been him. And it's not that this is impossible, rather he says, the moment we discover and know that force, we become him. But what is that force by itself, which the Kabbalists call his essence, something seemingly outside of us? In that, we have no concern yet. Perhaps we will be able to once upon a time, but for now we're not talking about it. And one more thing, we need to clarify many concepts. When we say infinite, what is infinite? In the wisdom of Kabbalah, everything, the desire, the quality of giving, bestowing, ends of infinity, we will discover that every such thing has a very accurate definition, and we will go over them during our lessons, but that's a very good question. And another tip, it's good to remain with questions and deficiencies. It's a good thing. What? And Bala Sulam writes in his definition in the study of the 10 Sefirot that the Creator is everything that is felt in the Kli, in the vessel, meaning in me. So you should understand how much this wisdom is very, very scientific. We repeat it again, but that is the approach of the wisdom of Kabbalah. Meaning, if I don't attain the Creator myself, if He is not in me, then there is no Creator. There is no Creator in our world. I can say that there is a Creator. So where is He? Where is He? Where is He? Is He here? Is He there? Where is He? If I don't live in that reality, which is called Boré, Creator, then there is no Boré. This is the Kabbalistic approach. But I know and I feel that there are people who really, because according to what they write, my heart opens up, cries out, meaning they probably discovered the Creator. I implement their advice, I take their path, I'm going according to their way, and I want to discover the Creator. So the process is as such, and until we don't discover the Creator, we cannot describe Him, and the description itself is wordless, because it is written, taste and see that the Lord is good, that He is so good, infinite, and so on. So infinite means that there is no border, no limit, and we come to a state where the abundance has no limit, and there is no time and no place, and we can all get into such internal, whole, complete reality filled with infinite abundance, and it happens here and now in our world. More questions? No, just what you mentioned before about knowing that there are things that we know, but as you have explained, there are probably many things we're not aware of, and they're behind the scenes, as you drew before. So how can we reach that understanding, that attainment? Is there such a process? Through the study, we will be merited of going through that process until we will really feel that infinite, endless force. We will really attain it? Definitely. This is exactly the miracle and the magic of the wisdom of Kabbalah, but not witchcraft. This is this wonder that occurs during the study, during this path of the wisdom of Kabbalah. Gradually, new discernments, feelings, emotions, new perception opens up. Something becomes clearer, like this fog I was immersed in, and I was immersed in this life, in chase after different things, survival questions. Those things fade away gradually, and I start to see clear, as crystal clear, and this reality starts to open up. And that happens thanks to the force, the special force, the exalted, sublime force, which is embedded in the wisdom of Kabbalah, in the books mainly, in us being connected to Kabbalists. We will elaborate on it. We will have a whole lesson about it, how it operates, what is the special force in the study, which opens up a person from within, expands his heart, and lets him into this reality. So now, let's go down from the levels of the root into the level of our existence, where we live, where we feel, and let's have a much broader view on this reality of ours, and we will see different tendencies, and we can do it very schematically. We know that people have to live social lives. Since the beginning of humanity, we see that we lived in a small family, and then a tribe, village, city, country, and we see throughout history that our evolution, as much as we might think that this is a technological or economical or internet or Facebooks and rulers and slaves, but this development is a social development where we, as a few tribes or humanity, we define a relationship and the connection between us more. And what develops between us is the level of the connection between us. So if we look at the tendencies in nature, we see one tendency that happens in the entire reality, and let's say this plate is us, and you see there are many, many points here. Think that these are 7 billion people, please do. Or 7,000 viewers, 7,500 viewers that we have now. And between those points, throughout history, thousands and thousands of connections are made between countries, let's say, which are bigger parts, and inside countries or nations. And then every person is connected to everyone else. There are connections between everyone in all directions today. Now we have Facebook, which I think is the third biggest country in the world. It's an amazing fact. And we can't say that we have a force of nature that governs us if we look at our life, but clearly there is this tendency that motivate everyone to a global village, like we used to live in a village once upon a time. And now in today's reality, we see that everyone are connected to everything there is in nature, literature, culture. We were supposed to blossom, to succeed, to prosper. And what happens? No, it's not simple. We're facing this unclear situation. How can it be that in the peak of humanity, in progress in technology, with all the abilities that we have developed throughout the history of human civilization, we're pretty helpless, and it's not clear to us what's going to happen tomorrow. How can I ensure my good future, the future of my kids, of those who are close to me? Why should it be this way? And how is it related to the fact that that interdependency and the system of connections between us, as Moshe described so beautifully, it becomes tighter and tighter, and we really become very tight, very close to each other. And if there is a small blow of wind somewhere, so also the leaf in my house moves, and it is clear to us. The reason is that throughout our evolution as humanity, we have developed into trends, two tendencies. Not only the connections between us become tighter and tighter, they were always like this, only now we discover it more and more. Rather, throughout the years, the individual person also developed, not just the human society developed and became closer and tighter, and turned from separated the tribes all over the globe into one global human society. But the individual people, they too developed. What developed in him? His individual developed. Who is what he wants to be, and mainly on the expense of someone else. That tendency is the tendency of the growth of the ego, where an individual who lived few thousand years ago and lived in a reality of balance with his nearby environment, with nature. He lived simple life. He didn't want much. He didn't need much. The ego, his inner inclination, the desire to be more and more and more, grew bigger and bigger. No problem here, unless it wouldn't have been on the expense of other people. And this is the point where we're facing today, where these two tendencies of the growth of the ego on the one hand and the development of the interdependency on the other hand, they clash. That colliding is what we called a crisis, meaning in the connections between us, all of a sudden we have something which is called ego. We are rejected from each other. We see if once upon a time we could get along in a family, today we can't. We see it in trade between us, in the connections between us, how we can get along with each other. The more the interdependency between us grows, at the same time, we also, the ego in the connection between us, we see all the wars, the mutual hatred. And also when we're talking about Facebook, once I heard that it is called connected in detachment, or Tal said it's, what did you say? That there's something very special in the internet or Facebook. It brings people who are far away together, closer together. But if you're close to each other, it drives you away from each other. Meaning we are in a reality like in a closed room or elevator, and everyone has their own knife or such attitude, as Amit said, and that brings about a crisis. And these are the tendencies that leads our humanity. On the one hand, such great interdependency on our ego, which is so much connected, rejected from it. In the past, we had crises, we had social revolutions, social regimes, we wanted one thing or another. Always when we had a crisis, we said, yeah, it's a crisis, but it brings into a new situation. And this time, this present crisis is so big and it lasts for so long, and no one thinks it's gonna ever end, and it's not clear what's the new form it's gonna take. And it seems that this crisis is very tragic in such large scales. It encompasses the whole globe and countries, economy, families, and it's also humans' personal crisis. People are depressed, they don't know what's the meaning of life, where are we headed, and whatever for. And they keep trying, selling us different pleasures. Buy this, iPad 6, iPhone 8, want this, want that, and don't worry, everything is fine. But it's not that simple. And therefore, seemingly in our nature, we see very weird tendencies. On the one hand, interdependency, on the other hand, our ego, which grows, and they're colliding, and we don't understand where it's going to. And in order to understand that, we need to go back and rise to the levels of the root and to understand where it all comes from, what's the reason, where it's going to. Can we move on to another diagram? Or perhaps you have questions? Guys, it's very important for us that you will participate, that you will be as active as possible. It is very important for our lesson. Send us questions. It takes time before we can translate them, before Tal gets them. And it will turn our study into something very dynamic, very active, and it will allow us to feel you more, serve you more, and to work in a more accurate way. So we really want to have your questions. Yeah, I see a small curiosity here, and we want it to grow. But perhaps what you mentioned about this concept of a global village, it feels like a body with cells, like we feel our body, and we know that there's something that is working good there. So on what depends the quality of the connections between us? What's supposed to happen there, which will lead us to a better future? We spoke of two opposite tendencies which clash. Is there a hint there? It's a very complicated question, and I don't want to elaborate on it because the answer will be a bit premature. But we're advancing towards a state where every one of us, if now we can resemble it to a state where every one of us is like a single tiny cell in a collective body, which is called humanity, or even the world with the inanimate, vegetative, and animals. And we feel separated. There's me, there's the nature, the environment, there's Moshe, Tal, Sharon behind the camera. We have you, and so many details, separated details in this reality. Now we're coming closer to each other, and the wisdom Kabbalah is taking us tenderly, gently, miraculously into a state where we will truly start experiencing life as one whole body working harmoniously, and every one of us, instead of identifying with that tiny cell which he thought that was him, instead he will start opening up a reality where he feels himself like the whole collective body, but we'll talk about it later on. I'm still stuck with the questions about the root. Why do all these things happen which they influence our whole life? I lived in Italy for many years. I see what's happening in Italy, Spain, and many countries in Europe. It's a real crisis. What motivates all that? What's the purpose? Can the wisdom Kabbalah explain all that? Let's explain it together. I'm always in favor of doing things together. Me too. So let's start breaking down the definition of Bala Sulam. What did he write there? When we're talking about the order of roots in cause and consequence with absolute determined rules, where all these rules, they have a single goal of bringing all of us, you, me, us, for the revelation of the Creator here and now. How does it happen? So we'll try to do this small diagram of the entire creation, including our current state, and we'll see where we take it from there. So let's start with the beginning. The beginning is that force, that origin, which is called the Creator, which fills up the entire reality. The Ari writes about it in the book Tree of Life. No, before the emanators were emanated and the creatures were created, an upper simple light filled the entire reality. And we can resemble that state. I'll do it with red. It's like a sun, a generator of abundance, of love, of light, of a reality, eternal reality. And he wants to impart this essence of his. Okay, so he wants to bestow. And that is called Boe, Creator. Come and see. That's the Creator. Creator, Boe, come and see. So, the Creator, out of his very essence, this is what Kabbalists who revealed him, who attained him as being the absolute good and benevolent. The good, out of his essence, he wants to bestow. Who can he bestow upon? So it is said that he wants to bestow, he wants to bring all this goodness to his creatures. And this is the purpose of creation. That is the purpose for which he created something that is called a creature. You hear? The purpose of creation is to receive the good and abundance. We don't really feel that recently, but good and abundance. Which good and abundance? In order to receive that good and abundance, what should we have? We should have a desire. Which kind of a desire? A desire to receive that good and abundance, meaning that upper force, which is the force of giving and bestow, of light, of love. He created something which is seemingly opposite than him, which is called a desire, the desire to receive, the will to receive. And that is, in fact, the will to receive, and we'll talk about it a lot. That is the essence of the entire creation. That is the matter of the entire creation. There is no more than the will to receive. A dog, your mother-in-law, I don't know, your new car, everything is a different quality and quantity of the will to receive. And the Kabbalists called that desire a kli or vessel, meaning a kli, a vessel to receive that abundance. That's it. Now, many times I ask myself, well, wonderful, so why this story is not over there? No, it's a good question. Meaning, what's happening? If we're now drawing everything in such a simple way, what we call creation, there is a force whose entire essence is the absolute goodness, and all he wants to do is give. So he creates a desire, a kli, a vessel, and he pours his entire abundance into it. So seemingly that desire is filled up with the entire abundance. Let's draw some fulfillment here. It is filled with the entire abundance, with the light. The light comes from here. Of course, we draw it in a very schematical way. only in order to have some grip, some understanding in the concepts, and seemingly this is where creation was supposed to end. There's the creator. How do we do this? Okay, so there's the creator. He wants to give, he wants to give. He has no one to give to, so he creates a kli, a desire. And the abundance naturally and immediately, because there is no time, there is no place here, fills up this entire desire, that single one creature that was created. And then I asked, okay, give me. But it turns out that there's a problem here. And this is the paradox of creation. Why? Because what did he do here? He created a desire, like Geppetto. I was in Italy a few years ago. I heard about this story. It's like Geppetto who created Pinocchio, or someone who programmed a robot. So let's think about our life. What do I want? I want to receive more and more and more. Doesn't matter what or how. Also, when I'm holding my daughter, she's 4 years old, when I hug her, it's wonderful. I want her to enjoy, but I also enjoy myself very much. So if he created me this way, how can I be like him? How can I be independent? How can I ever reach his level, become like him with the qualities of loving and bestowing? How can I become like him? This is what Kabbalists talk about in all their books. In order for this thing to work, obviously I need to do something. Well, first of all, I have to disconnect myself from the Creator. Well, it's not easy to understand at first, but you have to understand what we're talking about here. We're talking about a very delicate, very special situation where this creature, the moment he's filled up with all this pleasure, with all this abundance, infinite pleasure, he feels that it comes from a higher source. He feels that it comes from someone who gives him that pleasure. And the feeling of the giver of the pleasure is much stronger. It is such a paralyzing sensation. It makes you act than just being filled up with the pleasure, because it is impossible to think that the Creator will create this dummy, that simple desire, and will simply fill it up with pleasure. But if the Creator, he wants to create a creature that will feel the maximum benevolent of the Creator, then the maximum benevolent is not to be filled up, exploited with infinite light. Rather, the maximal benevolent is to be like the Creator himself, exactly like him, to give. And there's another thing. Meanwhile, this is a topic that we will discuss in the 6th or 7th lesson, I don't remember. But let's agree that the Creator has two problems. One problem, he wants the creature to be independent, like him. The second problem, this is what Amit started talking about, is that that creature, if I'm filled with pleasure, then that creature or me, I don't feel that pleasure at all. Why can't I feel it? Because think about it. I don't feel hunger. The moment I feel hunger, oops, I receive a pleasure, I receive a fulfillment in the set of Ein Sof, infinity. And what does it mean? That I can't even express a desire or something that I'm lacking. How do we feel something in our lives? I'm hungry. Now I'm filled. I wanted that woman. Now I married my wife. So we feel something good because, first of all, we need something. We lack something. We are a desire. And this is how we feel things. And by the way, we will expand on it on the next lesson. This is what it means. The light exceeds from darkness. So we feel everything out of its opposite thing. And the creature, he never felt that he was missing something, that he was lacking something, because immediately when he was created with light. So what the Creator has to do is push away the creature from him through such degrees of concealment, in which the Creator, he conceals himself, basically. The creature gradually stops through 5 worlds. We will learn about it. The creature stops feeling the Creator gradually until he reaches the lowest reality where he is disconnected from the Creator, the 0 point. And in that reality, which is our world, okay, our world. So let's think about ourselves. What do we have in our world? Does anyone feel the Creator? No, I feel myself, only myself, and few other people around me. And if they can serve me, great. And if not, they should start thinking about serving me. Okay, so basically that desire the Creator created cascades and loses contact with the Creator, and eventually it feels as a point only itself. And this is the best state for the development of a free choice, to develop a desire to feel connected to that Creator. Everything starts from here, from that point, which is called our world, our existence. So basically, if we will take that creature which was filled with the light of Ein Sof here, the light of infinity, Ein Sof. I wanted black. Okay, black. Here it is. So basically, these are exactly the stages that Bala Sulam tells us about the order of roots in way of cause and consequence. So basically, what we have here, well, here is the fulfillment. Here we have less light and less light and less light. And here, just a little bit of light. So we see here a tendency where the Creator, he conceals himself from the creature. He goes and disconnects himself gradually from the creature through 125 stages or 5 worlds, olamot, ha'alamot, concealments, until we reach a state where there is no Creator in our world, like we live here. We don't feel that reality, that spiritual reality. And basically, this whole process, from above downward, seemingly from above downward, it's not from above, from heavens, rather from above, meaning from a higher reality, a reality of utter love, a reality of bestowal, eternal, whole reality. From that state, we go down into a partial, separated reality, a reality where there is a small, lost man who lives by his ego, who doesn't feel the meaning, the purpose, the point in life, the future which this life has for him. And what happens next? So, from here on, that upper force continues developing that desire of the creature to where? It develops it in 2 levels. Well, this entire desire here is actually like a body. We can say that this is the collective soul of ours, where we're all interconnected in connections of love and bestowing. And that cascades, meaning it loses its form, like a body where neither cell in its body feels the other cells, it only feels itself. And then we live in this world, in this broken picture, where there were a few families who lived together, and then in time it developed into more and more connections between everyone, until our present picture, which we drew before, where we're all interconnected. This is all the influence of one force, where we reveal the net of connections relationship between us. On the other hand, that force also develops our individual desire. Why? Because every time, in accordance to the development of the connections between us, it also places the ego against it. And it constantly wants to increase in us the state of free choice. We will learn about it. That is called the development of the desires. That will be our next lesson. until we are in a present state where we are all helpless. On the one hand, we discovered the true picture, which is actually here, the picture of the connections between us. On the other hand, that we are immersed in our ego, and this is the best state. Why? Because from that state, if we call the cascading from above downward, we call it state 1. So we call it the first state. This is the second state where we are right now. And then from that state, which is the best possible state of the collective creature, which completed his corporal development, he scrutinized his own individual egoistic desire, he noticed that it is all purposeful and he will never be satisfied. We will elaborate on it on the next lesson. And now he is at the doorstep of his next development, which is a spiritual development, which is essentially different from the development we've been throughout the entire civilization till now. And that is called the transition to the third state. So this is where we are exactly in that point. And we are at the verge of entering the leap, an evolutional leap, the next leap, which is right here. We are at the doorstep of the next evolutionary leap of humanity. If till now we have developed in a humane way, we have advanced in technology and socially, today we have a different development, a conscious, emotional development in senses, but on a different level, on a level that will open up for us this whole layer, this whole system, the upper world. And here we have all the roots, all the connections, all the forces which we drew before, which cascade from above downward and activate our whole world and come to be also throughout our history. They made all those things to happen, and today we're in a state where we are about to enter, all of us together as the entire humanity, into this spiritual world, a new reality, and start elevating in the exact same way through which that desire in potential cascaded from above downward. And now, after we've been through all those years, thousands of years of evolution, we can start climb up consciously, independently, and by our free independent choice of ours. So basically, now we will be able to acquire, because we do it by ourselves, by a desire which we ourselves build together mutually, we will be able to acquire this whole attainment of this great system and to come in return to the same state, but out of our free choice, independent, out of our own consciousness, awareness. And now we're not a dummy anymore, which is filled with the light of Ein Sof. Rather, it takes us to that degree. Now, in the third state, we come to integrate with the thought of creation itself and to be like the Creator Himself. So we mentioned different new concepts, and I think that our friends are wondering and trying to adapt it to concepts they know. So Martin from Belgium is asking whether the light is something that comes from the Big Bang, and if eventually those concepts that we have mentioned about soul and all. So Claudio from Italy is asking, what is the soul anyway? Very important questions. So first of all, let's start with that thing called light. Light, as Amit mentioned before, is the impression of the desire, which is inspired, which is impressed from that quality of bestowal, the quality of the Creator, which illuminates in him. He feels it, he is impressed by it, and he calls that impression, light, like knowledge, like something enormous. It's a great excitement, a great impression. It's not like the sun, that the light that comes from the sun or fluorescent. Rather, this is the light that comes from the Creator. And in order to give Claudio an answer, I want to zoom in. Where is it? The next diagram? No, the previous one? No, doesn't matter. Help me out here. You ran too fast. Never mind. So I want to zoom in on this net of connection between us, which we drew before, where we're all interconnected, all around the world. So I want to talk about a very special part, a very special of people, or a very special part of that desire, which is awakened. There are parts here, like us, like you, parts which are awakened before everyone else. What does it mean, parts which are awakened? Meaning they begin to feel that something is missing. They feel dissatisfaction from what they have. There are constant temptations, fulfillments, promises, but something is always missing. And there is a feeling in us, meaning all of us, with that desire. This is why we're here, that there is something even better, that this life, their purpose, is to really enjoy. And we feel it not just because we were told, we feel it out of a very inner root that is in us, and we don't know it yet, we're not aware of this whole thing yet, but that draws us to reveal something which is beyond what this existence has to offer us. It pulls us towards a connection with the root itself, with the origin, with the source of life, with the taste of life. And we try to be fulfilled with everything. Some of us are fulfilled with everything, but it's all tasteless. I won't forget, I was a cameraman in Italy, a very successful one. I was sitting with Claudio, you know, Alinari. Every cameraman would sell himself to be part of this thing, and I represented Italy in Moscow, and the ambassador was there, and I was the Israeli cameraman in Italy, in Moscow, representing Italy. And I remember myself, and I won't forget, I was sitting with my back to the wall, and I don't know how to say it, I felt lousy. And I was asking myself, I'm supposed to enjoy this whole thing, such great honor and the exhibition, and I feel nothing. I started asking myself, why? Why can't I enjoy? What's wrong? What happened? I don't suffer from depressions, but I can't enjoy. And other people in the same style can't be satisfied. It's not that they're despaired or depressed, but they lose the taste, they don't enjoy, and then they're searching for different things like mysticisms and other ways until by chance, but it's not by chance, because we're drawn by our inner point, which is called the point in the heart. Amit will explain us soon what the point in the heart is, but this is the beginning of our soul. And with it, we're drawn to this source that can give us the way, the path, the introduction to reveal that upper pleasure or that goal, exalted goal that Baal HaSulam talks about, the connection. And then by chance or not by chance, we were given by chance a book of Kabbalah from a friend. We heard something on an internet site. We saw an advert, some ad, and now here we are together taking this course. So what is a soul? It's a beginning of a new desire. So what is that new desire? It's a very special desire. Now, I have a flashback because of you. We have thousands of people studying with us right now. Been translated to 22 languages from different countries, mentalities, different ages. different ways, different methods. And if you're here with us, then there is something common to all of us, 100%. You all have the desire, which is called the point in the heart. I will explain about it soon. But it is important to know that it is expressed very personally in every one of us. And that special point, which pushes a man and brings him, pulls him, and brings him to the wisdom of Kabbalah, it's very different from one comes out of curiosity, another one comes after, God forbid, he's been through some hard tragedies and he doesn't find a purpose to this life anymore. And another one, ever since he remembers himself, he's drawn to something beyond this life and is searching, and perhaps he's been through many methods, ways, been around the world, meditated, and still he cannot find it. And many different ways, miraculous ways, for all the people who eventually, and we have millions of them, many people who are with us in this study of the wisdom Kabbalah, we will explain about it later. And basically, they all come to the same wisdom, the wisdom of truth, where they feel that there is something which gives them an answer completely, entirely, for their whole life. And it's hard to explain it. You can say, why? Why here? So many times I was asked this question. I told them, I don't know, this is how I feel. This is how I feel. I can explain it in pretty words. It's all so logical, or everything is arranged perfectly, but practically it is this feeling and knowledge, very powerful knowledge in one's heart. After a rich life experience, even if that point in the heart is 13 years old, eventually it brings a person to the understanding, this is my place, this is my home. Here I know that I can develop to a higher degree, to a higher form of existence. And I want to add to it something else before you explain to Claudio and other friends what the soul is. Many times we ask ourselves, okay, so what's the point? What's the purpose? You happen to ask that question. So what's the purpose of it all? Why do we live that race of life? And again, we ask ourselves that question, and the wisdom of Kabbalah allows us to increase that question more and more and more, to increase that point more and more and more. And I would like to read you a quote by Baal HaSulam from an introduction that he wrote to the study of the 10 Sefirot. It's in item 2. I will read its beginning. He starts his introduction with all kinds of questions and doubts that different people have. Why should I study Kabbalah for? It's forbidden to study Kabbalah. It's only for holy, righteous people. And he says this. Indeed, if we set our hearts to answer but one very famous question, this indignant question is a question that the whole world asks, namely, what is the meaning of my life? In other words, these numbered years of life that cost us so heavily, and the numerous pains and torments that we suffer for them, to complete them to the fullest. So the question is, what is the purpose of our lives? Meaning these numbered years of our life that cost us so heavily, and the numerous pains and torments that we suffer from them, to complete them to the fullest. Who is it who enjoys them? Or even more precisely, whom do I delight? It is indeed true that historians have grown weary contemplating it, and particularly in our generation, no one even wishes to consider it. Yet the question stands as bitterly and as vehemently as ever. Sometimes it meets us uninvited, pecks at our minds, and humiliates us to the ground, before we find the famous ploy of flowing mindlessly in the currents of life as always. Indeed, so what is the solution for that question? How do we find the answer? What is that soul?
יש לנו אדם בעולם הזה.
We have a man in this world.
בסדר?
Okay?
ולאדם הזה
And that man has a heart.
זה לא הלב הפומפה.
It's not the heart, the pump that we have, the blood pump. Rather, this is the sum total of our desire. And those desires, they want many things. They want many things from this world. They want food. They want sex. They want family. They want to multiply. They want many things. We will learn about it more during the next lesson. And there's a very special part in humanity. Actually, everyone has it, but there's a special part of it which awakens right now. We will talk about it the next lesson. Inside the heart, there is a special desire. This is why we mark it red. That is the point in the heart. That desire doesn't want anything from everything that we can find in our world.
Our world. אלא הוא רוצה את זה.
Rather, what he wants is this, the Creator. Here.
הוא רוצה להגיע.
He wants to go. That point wants to go here. Because this is where it comes from. That point is a part of the Creator. The point in the heart is called a godly part from above, a part of the collective soul that used to be here, filled with light together with the Creator, as we have illustrated before. And throughout all the years of our evolution, from thousands of years ago, let's say 10,000 years ago, where humanity started developing massively through all their revolutions, until we're here in the year 2014, and the points in the heart now starts awakening, because throughout all the stages of development, the previous stages of development, we have scrutinized all those desires, and we saw that they bring us nowhere. And that point is now ready. It has ripened to reach a state where it can start developing. We can resemble it into a small seed which is embedded in us, whose quality is completely opposite. This is the quality of the Creator, love and bestowal. We will elaborate on it throughout the entire course. And this is the point that we should start developing. We should give it water. We should give that seed water to raise it and to live in it, to grow in it. And with that little seed, which is buried inside our will to receive, it only starts to awaken. But during the study, with the help of the light, the books, and everything we will start opening up this tiny desire which brought us here to this moment, to this study. Gradually, we will open up this point, and when that point opens up, this is what is called neshama, a soul. Now, we only have the potential of the soul. We didn't develop it yet, but when that point develops, it opens up into a new sense, which is called a soul. And in that sense, we start working, living inside reality, which is called the Creator. And that soul is a name for a higher level of a desire. Till now, I had desires for money, respect, knowledge, sex, and so on, knowledge. And basically, all of a sudden, a new desire starts developing in me. Just a point, it's only the beginning, because we didn't develop that desire yet. I don't really feel, oh, now I have to feel and attain a higher reality. And thanks to the study and thanks to this course, this desire starts growing and growing, and to connect to other such desires like him, until it feels such a great yearning and such a powerful force that it breaks through while it adapts itself to this upper reality, it adapts itself to this upper reality and to the higher states where we felt the upper light in us, states where we adapt ourselves to that reality. And during hundreds of generations, Kabbalists, people like us with a point in the heart, all of a sudden, it wasn't enough for them just the ships that they have, or to have a life of a peasant, or eat a loaf of bread in the good scenario. They asked themselves, what for? Where did it all start for? What was here before we were born? What happens after death when the body rots in the ground? And I don't believe all the stories that have been told, what happens after death. It should happen here and now, meaning the point in the heart, it's not something naive or stupid. This is a big, cruel desire which is much bigger than all the desires of this world. It seems to us that perhaps the rich people, the rulers, they have great desires. No, the point in the heart, that desire is the most powerful, the biggest desire. And that desire, with the help of the wisdom Kabbalah, we grow it, we develop it, and with it we feel and we attain. And this is what Kabbalists did, the upper reality. And in that upper reality, they, the Kabbalists, if you remember, we had those three arrows, the first, second, and third state. The third state, the state of us returning to the upper reality. What Kabbalists did, how did they write about those things? How did they feel those things? They adapted themselves to the upper reality, which is here. And by adapting themselves, they discovered those states that were here. The more they rose in the ladder of degrees in developing that desire towards acquisition of the quality of the Creator, they felt the most exalted, highest states. And all those revelations, they wrote to us in their books. They left us in their books, books of Kabbalah, so that we too will be able to take that reality, the same rules, and like them to rise and develop that point of us, the point in the heart, and to feel like them, the higher reality. So it turns out that the Kabbalist, by rising and feeling that reality and discovering it, and discovering eventually the Creator himself, as Amit said before, they didn't just discover the Creator because there was the thought of creation, the desire of that force to give, and this is where we came from. But when Kabbalists rise, when they develop their soul till a state which is called the end of correction, they rise above that state. They rise above, well, they acquired the head, the thought of creation. They acquired the thought of the Creator himself. And that is called the end of correction. And we know that the end of correction is only the beginning. Kabbalists are talking about the fact it's like you put your car in a garage. In order to give the Creator, to make a creature independent, the Creator broke him down like you broke down your car. And when this machine gradually corrects itself, it acquires the connections between all of us, it acquires this whole attainment, this whole wisdom. And then if we compare it to a car, then it's ready to go. But Kabbalists don't write about that state because it is said, neither I saw the Creator except for you. Meaning this is an invitation of that force of the Creator to come and reveal that exalted reality. And all that, this is something I want to tell you, it's waiting for us. What do we find there? We find there endless pleasure, eternal pleasure, a pleasure that never ends, which doesn't depend on our bodies. That perception of reality of those bodies disappears. the son of Baal Shulam, Harabah Ashrav Baruch Shalom Ashlag, we'll talk about him a lot, we'll study him. He compared it to, well, suppose Rav Lightman once asked him about that state of what happens when we die. So he told him, well, you know, if you're in spiritual attainment, you develop your point in the heart, now you live in the spiritual reality, so your body grows old, he dies, sometimes, eventually he dies. What happens to the Kabbalists? So he compared it to wearing some clothes. You know, after you throw your clothes to the laundry machine and take another one. So we, in this life, until we haven't attained the spiritual world, then we identify with this life. This is me, this body of mine, this personality of mine, and how people define me. I may be a film producer, a father, a teacher. This is what defines me. I'm a myth because people define me in such and such a way, and I live here in this body. I weigh such and such kilograms in this country. I do this, I do that. I have such and such desires and longings. Developing the point in the heart takes a person into identify with something completely different, much bigger, much broader, much wider than this body. He identifies with the collective exalted system, which is comprised from all the components of nature. Doesn't just identify with it emotionally. We go back to the beginning. He lives in it. He becomes to be like it. He becomes to be the system itself. Same thing. He is the system. He becomes a law of nature, if we can explain it this way, because we're talking about forces. This is why we started initially, that the Creator, He is the general force of nature, which has many different manners, ways, manifestations, and by gathering discernments, emotions, feelings of all those manifestations of the Creator, such forces, a person comprises for himself the same system, willingly, consciously, and he acquires, as he goes, the internality of the system, the initial thought of the system which created him, which created everything which sustains it. He becomes to be the most exalted part of creation, the thought of creation himself. And this is why the wisdom of Kabbalah is now revealed, exactly in such time when we're between the hammer and the nail, when we're all helpless, we don't know what to do about it. That ego is so big in us and we don't know what to do about it. Now we have a new opportunity. The point in the heart was awakened in us. We have the opportunity to rise and feel the pleasure, the real pleasure. That's the purpose of creation, to receive pleasure and delight. And the only question is how to receive it, how to enjoy ourselves, how, and we'll talk about it in the next meeting, how can we enjoy without it being over? Rather, how can we have an internal, endless pleasure? How can we do that? How can we receive this entire upper abundance, this upper light, which is called the light of Chokhmah, the light of wisdom? How can we feel all that? This is why we need a wisdom, which is called the wisdom of Kabbalah, reception in Hebrew. A wisdom of how to receive, the wisdom of Kabbalah, how to enjoy. And this is what Kabbalists developed. So we shouldn't be hermits, we shouldn't eat little, we shouldn't fast or bury ourselves in sand, and this way we'll feel something. No, to the contrary, we should increase that point, that sense, that soul as much as we can, and dare to feel the entire good and abundance that force, the upper force, the force of giving and bestow. It's called an upper force because the giving is sublime to the will to receive. It what activates the will to receive. And something else I want to say, except for that promise that awaits us, and me and Amit want all of us to achieve it. Another thing is basically the wisdom of Kabbalah. If we will go back to the diagram, under this line we will write our world, It's here, under that line. And let's say that here, above, this is the level of the roots. Okay, the level of the forces or the upper world. The wisdom of Kabbalah, the wisdom of receiving, talks only about that higher, exalted reality. This is what Kabbalists wrote about in their books. It doesn't mention, not in a single word, our world, although it uses that language. It only speaks, as Bala Sulam writes in the definition of the wisdom of Kabbalah, about that higher reality, about the order of roots and rules and forces and the same conducts and ways through which we can identify and reach adhesion with that upper force. I have to say, it makes me so happy to say that to the thousands of viewers that we now have. This is why we're also so excited. There is a purpose to this life. It's not something of faith covering our eyes. Rather, there is a tested method. There is a purpose for this life for us to achieve all this goodness, which we can not even understand how big it is. This is the most wonderful way there is to be free of the suffering of life, to start to feel the reason of everything and to be orientated in this reality and to know how to turn everything and every moment in our life to the best possible way towards advancing in realizing the purpose of creation. In few words, this is what the wisdom of Kabbalah is. And Tal, you're radiating. What happened? Because there's a great awakening. Probably we're able to awaken some people. It's probably the delay of the translation. I'll tell you why. Now we'll confuse our translators. We're having a dialogue. So I have to say something also? Okay. See, guys. We had a malfunction in the server. Before the lesson started, everything collapsed. It always happens. We'll talk about it and why it happens. And the 9th lesson, there's none else besides him. We'll talk about it. But you should understand that your questions didn't come to us because the server collapsed. Now we have so many questions, so shoot. Okay, it's hard to know what to choose. You want me to put a clip for questions and answers? Yoram, can you put it on? Put something on. Questions and answers. Okay, so we have many friends with us who are so patient and they overcame the technical problems. And they're very excited about the point in the heart. Many questions about the point in the heart. We have Martin from Belgium. We have Ciziano from Moldova. And we have John from England. And many friends, Catherine from France and Yulia from Moldova. About the point in the heart, there is someone who started feeling himself as a kind of a very special person. He probably received this special gift. He's asking, aren't everyone supposed to be born with that point? And then Martin from Belgium is asking, if not everyone were born with that point, how can we convince the entire humanity that they should rise to that spiritual level, to the upper world, the next world? We mentioned different terms. And should we convince them, or will they start feeling the same as we do? And to summarize, how does this change pleasure, the sensation of this pleasure, how does it happen? How fast does it happen? Okay. No, you don't understand how miraculous it is. Because the questions that you're asking are very, very advanced. It only shows, I remember when I started studying, after the first lesson, I was here physically in the study hall, and I heard and saw, and I had a ride back with Sasha Demidov. He's one of the first students of Rav Lightman, and I was driving with him, and I was so excited, and I was explaining to him, it's like this, it's like that, and I was on fire. And Sasha was driving the car. He's one of the biggest movie and theater actors in Israel, very special student, and I saw tears in his eyes. So I asked him, what's going on? So he told me, you can't understand how excited I am, because I remember many years ago when Rav Lightman, our teacher, said, you will see how points in the heart, new points in the heart will come to us, how special they will be, how ready they will be, ripe they will be. And here, and now I can see that it's happening. And now I'm in the same state. Just by hearing your questions, we see how this process is so miraculous. How much that wisdom is the wisdom of truth. You know, it gives you such a greatness of the path, and how this process has to, it simply happens. Oh, okay. Sometimes we'll go to such sentimental places. Stop us if we overdo it. So I will make it short, and Moshe will elaborate. The point in the heart, everyone has the point in the heart. Each and every one has some kind of foundation, some kind of belonging to that spiritual exalted connection. Otherwise, we wouldn't have been able to make contact with all the people and reach a state where we all connect to that same one collective soul which we all came from and going back to. The thing is, and that answers the second question, that the point in the heart is awakened in different ways and in different times. Throughout history, where is that laser beam? Okay, throughout history, can you see that? It was awakened in a very it was awakened in chosen fews. One here, one there, you know. And in our days, it is awakening in the masses. As you see, we're thousands of people sitting together talking about the most exalted things in reality, which were completely hidden, concealed for thousands of years from the entire humanity. They were known only for those chosen few. So also now, although we're talking about many people, many points which are awakening, still according to the order of cascading from above downwards, there's also the order of emergence of the points from below upward, and we will learn about it, what characterizes those special points, and what characterizes the rest of the people for whom the point in the heart wasn't awakened, and how it will be awakened, how will they be able to approach that wisdom of connection. Should everyone come and study Kabbalah, or perhaps not, but they will connect to us somehow? Very interesting questions, very practical, very relevant questions for our lives, for the lives of the entire humanity. Urgent questions. It's premature to talk about it right now, and you won't really understand it. We will discuss it as we go during the lessons. Now, what was the last question? The last question was, how long does it take to feel it? Or during this course, 10 meetings. Really, it's a critical question, because the answer for it, well, first of all, it happens very fast. Now, but I want to, but it's up to you. It really is up to you. And that brings us to the next lesson and to the rest of the lessons. The study of the wisdom of Kabbalah depends on the person himself.
עד כמה שאתם
It depends on how much you will long, how much you will want to open up that spiritual reality. And it doesn't matter if you're sitting behind a computer screen thousands of miles away from here and us talking different languages. It doesn't matter at all. In spirituality, there is no time, there is no place, there is no difference, no gaps. And the revelation, there is this verse, very important verse, which is called, the salvation of the Creator is as a blink of the eye. It happens instantaneously. What does it depend on? On the ripeness, on the readiness of the desire, and how much one's desire of a person who started this study, how ready he is. And I would like to add to this, so what? Is it winning a lottery? Like I once thought, okay, there are such Kabbalists, such righteous, the upper force had a lottery, and that's it. Actually, it depends on us and on our choice, and we'll learn where is the place of the choice, and how we, like scientists, like psychologists of ourselves, we do actions on ourselves that increase that desire, that longing of ours, and we won't let it turn off. To the contrary, we will increase it to such an extent that we will be on fire, and we will think only on that. And I want to say something else. The wisdom of Kabbalah. There's always a question, why wasn't it revealed in previous generations to the masses? In the next lesson, we'll see that there is an order of growth of the desires, that the desire develops from one desire to another in a quality manner. It happens in the entire humanity, because the creature has to develop one desire to another until it reaches to its final desire, where out of his free choice he can start developing by himself. Listen to me, that he can start developing in himself a new desire which he doesn't have yet. He only has the beginning for it, a new desire to feel the upper reality, to feel connection with the Creator. And it's the same with people. And I think it's the same between the 7,000, 8,000 people that we have with us. Some of them, perhaps, their desire is not very ready. Perhaps they came and thought that the wisdom of Kabbalah is mysticism. Perhaps this is something that will give me luck. Perhaps good relationship, perhaps good income, or perhaps some witchcraft and protections, the ability to read thoughts, or future astrology. Perhaps it's something that is related to the Freemasons. I heard about different charms and witchcrafts. Holy water, yeah, and red strings charged with positive energy from grapes of righteous. Or me putting 50 kilograms of wood, meaning books of Zohar on the shelf, in my room, that protects my house. So what are we trying to say? We don't disregard anything, we just want to have some good spirit. But there are so many things which are related to the wisdom of Kabbalah, and the answer for all of it is simple. The wisdom of Kabbalah deals, as Baal HaSulam says in his definition, in the revelation of the upper reality of love and bestowal. And therefore, if I thought that was the wisdom of Kabbalah, now I have an opportunity to come and feel the real, authentic wisdom of Kabbalah, who deals with the purpose of life. And together with the 8,000 people we have from Europe, we can attain it together. But I have to say something. We are warming up right now, okay? Yeah, we're just getting started. The wisdom of Kabbalah talks only about the spiritual world, only about the spiritual reality. Moshe said, according to what Baal HaSulam said, we spoke about it a few times during the lesson, and this is exactly it. But, there is a but here. We have to understand, delving into the study of the wisdom of Kabbalah, which deals seemingly in a reality which I don't perceive for now. But, as we have explained, it develops the person from within.
בצורה כזאת שהוא
in such a way that he starts preparing himself to new absorption of that reality which is beyond matter, the matter that we are familiar with of this world.
תוצאת הלוואי, אם אפשר,
The side effect, if we can say that, of that thing
שהאדם
is that a person who studies
מפתח גם יכולת, אני אומר את זה בעדינות,
develops the ability, and I'm being
מאוד חדה, מאוד מדויקת,
delicate here, very precise, very measured, very accurate
אופטימלית,
to
במציאות הזאת גם.
manage himself in the best possible way in this world also. And we know it. We've been studying Kabbalah for many years. We
לחיים
see what the wisdom of Kabbalah does to our corporal life, to our family life,
לגידול הילדים,
to how we raise our kids.
אפשר לגדל
I don't know how one can raise kids without studying Kabbalah, how one can answer essential questions. We'll talk about it a lot. Well, anyway,
בכלל, בכל שאר תחומי החיים.
and in the rest of life areas, because what is life? It's a relationship between people at work, at home,
בכל דרך אחרת.
or any other place.
חוכמת הקבלה
So the wisdom of Kabbalah talks about the spiritual reality, but you will come to see that it organizes for you, arranges for you, very naturally, all of a sudden, some very special approach
לחיים טובים ונכונים,
to a good, correct, balanced life in this world.
בלי מאמץ.
Without any special effort, meaning you make an effort towards spirituality, but you won't try to chase so many things, climb the Everest. All of a sudden, things come to place, my desires, they come to place. Therefore, the wisdom of Kabbalah is actually for everyone. What we started saying before is that in the past, if my main desire was, let's say, to know things, so if I would have taken the wisdom of Kabbalah, I would have become a scientist. If my desire was for control, then I would turn the wisdom of Kabbalah into a business where I can control people and control things. But if my main desire is the point in the heart, the beginning of the soul, the wisdom of Kabbalah is meant for me. So the friend asked, how do I help everyone to awaken? We're all interconnected, as we saw in the previous diagrams. We're interconnected to each other completely because we're all part of the same soul. The moment I increase my desire, it's like a light beam which is ignited in my body. This way I help others because I ignite a light beam in them also. So when I ignite that light in me, Amit, Tal, John, all the other friends, so even if a person doesn't have such a desire, all of a sudden he starts feeling this poking from within, this check of, what is life? Why do we live for? And then in this collective body of all of us, when we do it ourselves, we accelerate the birth of the point in the heart in the rest of the people, the rest of the parts. And let's read a quote before we end. It's a quote of the Rabash, Rav Baruch Shalom Alevi Ashlag, and he writes this. The purpose of creation is not necessarily for a select group. Rather, the purpose of creation belongs to all creations, without exception. It concerns not necessarily merely the strong and skillful, the brave people, and so on, but all the people. Meaning, it belongs to all of us. All of us, a good, so important future awaits us all, such as through special, exalted development that we cannot even start to imagine. And I'm still so excited. I'm so happy to have you all with us. Tal? It's amazing because people were able to feel something in common and they're asking similar questions and probably about this excitement that you feel. So they're asking, Catherine from France is asking, why that wisdom, that hidden science of the wisdom of Kabbalah is revealed specifically today. And Thomas from England is asking, you mentioned those life areas where we can receive answers from the wisdom of Kabbalah. So, is it the day, meaning specifically this period of time where this wisdom is revealed? Does everything start to open up right now? I will give you a short answer because we have no time left, and we have 9 more lessons, and we have a Facebook group, and the local teachers in every language, they will answer all of our questions. We invite you during the week to go there, ask questions. You will have another lesson during the lesson where your teacher will give you answers to questions in your local language. But I will give him a quick answer. Today we're in a state where the upper reality is revealed to us, where we're all interconnected as one creature, as one body. But at the same time, as we have seen, we're all opposite to each other. And thanks to the wisdom of Kabbalah, or the wisdom of connection, thanks to that wisdom, we can adapt ourselves to this upper reality of giving, of bestowing and love. And this way, all of us, like one body, will elevate together in all conducts of life at first, and then we'll start feeling it as conducts and as a much higher reality than what we see now. And the more we will adapt ourselves to this higher reality, until we feel something which is not even us. Rather, we will feel one with the Creator, a very exalted state which is called adhesion, dvekut. This is what awaits us. I'm sorry that this lesson is over, but we'll continue to be together also on Facebook and in general during the week. Let's think about this lesson and let's start preparing ourselves to the next lesson in a week from now. In our spare time, there's plenty of things to read. You will be able to watch this lesson on the site. It will be on the archive soon. Yeah, there was a question about it. Yeah, of course you will be able to watch a rerun of it. It's recommended. And you will have plenty of supporting materials, and we will support the local teachers in your own languages. And let us prepare ourselves and let us digest what we have received during this lesson and prepare ourselves to the next lesson, where we'll start elaborating and go deeper into the structure of our inner desire. How do we get pleasure now, and how will we get pleasure the way the wisdom of Kabbalah teaches us, in a way that it won't disappear, in a way that it will last forever. And this is what we're expecting next week. Okay, so it's a pure delight. It was a pure delight to be with you, Tal, and with all our viewers, of course. Thank you so much for your questions, and we'll see you next week.